Got most of it welded up, at least the stuff that I have fit, including the bushings. Welcome back, everybody. We are back at it. I just posted the part 1 video of this Jeep YJ. I'm going to try to work on getting this thing, at least the frame repair finished up. Got some other little stuff that I want to do. We'll see how far we get today. Anyway, let me show you where I left off. All right, so as I showed you, let's see. I got to straighten these back out. I kind of boogered them up, lifting the body up. Anyway, got the frame all repaired. Cross member is in. Next step is I have to finish removing this piece. So I've already cut off the flat bar or the flat strap that was on here. As you can see, some of the rot that's on the inside. I still have to address these bushings. But the thing keeping me from removing this right now is whoever put this on here last, they welded it right across this top side here on both sides. So as soon as I get that cut, I can remove it. And then as I was saying, as soon as I get that removed, I can work on cleaning up and finishing the end of the frame rails. I'm also going to try to blow out any loose debris that's currently in there. But I've got a plan. So anyway, let's get started. We got things tacked into place. We still got to do something up there, probably a little more cleanup. Tacked into place here. I have some gap to fill there, but should be fine. We are in place on both of them, so making progress. I'll get some of that stuff welded up, then I'll come up with that cross brace to replace the section I just cut out of there. I got an idea. I just got to see if I can find the material. Hopefully I have some here. Yeah, that ain't working. Going poorly. Let me get back to you. It's gonna take a minute. Got most of it welded up, at least the stuff that I have fit, including the bushings. Not the prettiest job. Functional. Going pretty good so far. Alright, we are back. Got the tubing fit onto the back of the frame. Back of the frame is all welded up. Pretty much ready to go. I have to stuff the fuel tank underneath there, or the support pan, see where that's going to fall. And I still have to make that little dog ear here to have the body, so I can mount the body to it. That's not that big of a deal. Wanted to get some paint on it so make it look a little better. The inside, all jazzed up. Making progress. Alright, so this is what we learned late last night, is that the fuel tank pan from a CJ7 does not seem to fit the YJ fuel tank. There's a couple differences. One, there's this like this popped up spot on both edges, like it keeps the fuel tank centered, which is great. But it's in the way with the YJ tank, which is apparently larger. I smashed those down in hopes that that would fix it. And that helped, although the pan length, where it's going to mount to the frame, ends up being a lot shorter for some reason. Noticeably shorter than the CJ. or I'm sorry, than the YJ. So there must be a difference there and it's not working. So I had to abandon that. We are currently working on a new pan. So this pan's going to act dual fold. It's going to be a skid plate and a support pan. Now hopefully, if I've done my math correctly, which I don't math well, it'll work out just fine and provide a little extra room in there. I'll have to still make some strap supports. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a fiasco. I've already got my support brackets mounted into the frame. These are the front and back vertical supports. I'm going to get these tacked into place, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to build, or I'm going to cut the bottom. I'll figure out what that size is going to be, and I'll cut the bottom to it. I'll get it all tacked up, stitched in place pretty good, and then I'll just come back once I'm happy with it. I'll weld what I can, not to get too carried away because that tank is plastic. So I'm going to be pretty limited on even tacking it. So I may not get to weld it. There is a slight little bit of residual of fumes in there. I think we're going to be fine. Well, I was fine last night. So I'm going to just keep trucking along and pretend like it's not even a problem. Anyway, let's get the plasma cutter set up. Get the cutting these pieces out. Fuel tank pan taken care of and mounted in there because I got other things I need to do. I still have to repair the oil leak. I still have to fix that seat bracket, the bad spot in the floor that's allowing the passenger seat to move around, the broken seat bracket that's on the driver's side, and I mean, at the very least, I got to do all that. Well, that's a tall order for today. Tell you what, it's time for a new pair of gloves. These poor things, they give you a false sense of security, that's for sure. You find all the openings. They're just so expensive. Anyway, I got to clean the burn edge up on these, and then I'll show you what's going on in the back, and I'll show you that pan I was talking about if you're not familiar with it. Hopefully we'll get these tacked into place. Mostly we'll refer to it as level, although the Jeep's not sitting level, so I'll have to account for that. And we'll figure out what that bottom plate's going to be. We'll get that all cut out, and then we'll be making some headway. But let's get to cleaning some pieces and parts. Hard to see, but there's two pieces here. One piece is going to stay attached to the rear section of this frame permanently. This part here, the lower one, that's what's going to attach to the skid plate and pan. And I drilled that all the way across, and I didn't want to drill and tap the piece that's staying permanent, so I ended up just using these bolts, and then I just welded the nuts to the top side, therefore giving me what I need. I'll just have to keep an eye on them, make sure they're not going to back out during use. If they do, I'll put a little Loctite on them. That should keep them in secured. Let me slide up here and show you the front. As you can see, I made another one that goes across there. The first time I did it, I had the holes all goofed up somehow. But anyway, I've got that corrected now. And the smaller piece that I just cut is going to go here. The longer, narrower piece is going to go to the back. So that's the plan. Let me get set up. Alright, there's the bulk of it roughed in. Kind of see it there. See how it's attached. Same on both ends. A little bit of clearance in there, not much. Something, it's like just enough room to put a wear pad. I'll still have to double check to see what I got to do to make sure the it's not focusing. So the fuel lines and all that stuff will squeeze through, make sure everything matches up there. I'll still have to come back and trim this corner, and then I'm going to box it up and in, and then I'll put some drain holes in it, and we're making progress. I'm going to box the outer edge, not fully, up to some degree to stiffen it up. Both ends. Going good. Making progress. Quick update, the fuel tank pan is built. I still got to finish welding it. When I boxed in the edges, I got to finish welding those and the outside of these corners. That's just because it was going to be easier to do it outside the vehicle rather than wrestling it upside down, because my welder's not cooperating very well upside down. So anyway, it'll just look better, easier to clean up that way. That part, we're not going to say it's finished, but it's much closer. I still have to add in a spot for the 2 fuel tank straps and work out the design on that so that it will function. And then I'm currently back. I'm back to where I started pretty much. So now I'm going to work on body bushings and the 1-inch lift, or the 1 1/4-inch body lift, which is going to be a fiasco. Or a challenge nonetheless, mostly due to, let me show you here, I'm down to 2 bolts that are giving me trouble right up inside there. Let me show you. The cage has come apart and the nut is just spinning in there, and my regulator for my oxyacetylene set is not working very good. It's leaking real bad, and I just don't feel comfortable with it leaking. And the cost of acetylene, I don't want to get down here and burn the heads of these bolts off, and I don't think I have enough room for a grinder. So I'm going to run the town tomorrow, because everybody is closed that I could get this at. I'll run the town tomorrow and get a new regulator. I need one anyway for the welding truck. And then I can finish working on these. Alright, we are back, and just an update, things are going as expected. We're going to refer to it metaphorically as what I like to call a rusty snowball. So, when working on rusty objects, you start getting into a project, you know, if you've done a few of these, that it's never going to go as smooth as you'd like it to. And that's exactly what's going on here. Let me show you. So I've got both front seats removed. Rear seat is removed as well, just not the brackets. Didn't need to remove those. Here's how well it's going. Right here. Seat bracket bolt, broke. Seat bracket bolt, broke. This damage I was expecting. This damage here is what I expected. This is what I knew I was going to have to repair. I was just hoping the bolt wouldn't break, even though I knew it would. I was confident it would. That one broke. Yeah, let me show you what's going on the other side. So this is the heavy plate that I pointed out once before where they done the floor repair. Yep, it was hillbillied up. So they just ran an all thread, or just a really long bolt with a big old stack of washers, something I might have done years ago. That came out, that was good, even though it's not the original hole. They must have had the same issue. This one, as you can see, went poorly. This one ended up just pulling plumb out of the floor here, which I knew was bad. I had a good feeling it was. I was going to have to fix it. This bolt came out. That was good. This one was more of a stud, so it's not as big of a deal. Here's the next big challenge. Give me just a second here. I'm going to remove these seat belts. And as you can see, that one's been completely rounded out. We have a rusty hole in the floor there, which I knew of when I saw it from underneath. This dimple right here, that's where one of the broken body mounts are, so I've got to cut this off so I can access the back side of the bolt. I have to do the same thing on the other side because it broke. On a positive note, kind of, there's what's left of the cage nut that was broke off up inside there. Oh, let me show you. That was up inside there. So I'll have to do something about that now. But they're all cut loose, so the body is technically separated from the frame. I do have the back pushed up. I have not started putting anything in place because I have to extract these broken bolts within the body. So I'm going to have some repair ahead of me. It's slowing me down quite a bit, but it was expected. The fuel tank still hasn't been fully welded up yet. It's sitting there waiting on me. Guess I'll get back to it. You know me. It's rare that I finish everything all at once. I needed a break from it. I was tired of working on it. It's going good. It's just welding. This I need to get on, because this is going to take me a little bit. I got to cut holes in the floor, extract broken bolts as I stated already, and then come up with a new plan on new bolts. I bought some new hardware for the body. I may have enough hardware I can scrounge up to fix the seats. Let me show you what's going on with the seat bracket. So I'm still going to figure out how to remove a center console so I can clean underneath there. I'm going to go ahead and remove the carpet here in a little bit. Trying to get the seatbelt bolt out. That's going to be the next big task. Once it's out of the way, I can start addressing some other stuff. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a little bit blind. Got me some water. Help keep things under control. I've already soaked the seatbelt. Gotta get this nut held in place. Can't see nothing. Nothing. This ain't gonna go well at all. Yep. I gotta get set up better. This ain't working. Well, unfortunately, I did not get that on camera. It didn't go as good as I hoped for. It was really difficult to get a nut up in there underneath that seatbelt and put some weld on it. The first one failed. Cleaned it. Second round, I was able to get it to burn in hot enough, and I was able to get it out. So it's a win. I'm sorry I didn't get to show it to you guys, but I am glad it came out. Delayed it a little bit. I'll just show you what's going on. This much section was toast. Small section here wasn't any good. There's a piece of channel that runs through here. I'll have to make a new one of those. It's a floor brace. It's the continuation piece of this. I just lopped it off because there wasn't much left of it. And by the time I got done cutting out the old body mount bolt and the retainer, and there just wasn't anything left anyway. This is that subpar repair up here with the thicker metal. The cage nut and the busted off bolt in there gave me the same kind of fits. So now I've got to reconstruct some of this down in here. And then I'll come up with some sort of my own version of like a locking cage nut or something. I haven't fully thought it out. I haven't gotten to that point. Just went and picked up some plain sheet metal. So I should be able to get started on this pretty soon. I'm going to make some cardboard templates so I can get my cuts pretty close, make the welding a little bit easier. Let me look at the other side. I'll show you what's going on over there. I did make a small error. I thought this one had broke off, so I cut into it to figure out how to extract it, only to find out that that one actually came out. I was able to extract the seat bolt, one of them. The other one, where it was all cracked and busted, I wasn't able to do. So I just finished cutting that out, and then I'll make a new piece for that. I can't remember if I have a broken bolt in this one. That's where that big knot is. That's where a body mount bolt goes. I'm going to have to look and see if that one came out. I don't remember. Other than that, I got some holes back in here. I think I'm just going to wire wheel, clean it up, remove that big chunk of seam sealer. I'll clean and prep all of it. I'll re-seam seal, and then of course I'm going to wire wheel, hand sand, and repaint the whole inside of the tub once all the repairs are done. And then I got some sound deadening mat that I'm going to throw in here as well. At least that's the plan for now. So anyway, that's where we are. Remember that rusty snowball I mentioned earlier? Well, this is exactly where it goes if you're not careful. But I needed it. I'm capable of doing it. It's going to take me longer, but I'll know it's right, and I won't have to worry about it for a few years. Or maybe I'll sell it, and somebody else can deal with it. Here's the sheet metal. I probably should have just went and found a junk vehicle out in the field and tried to harvest a big chunk off of it. This is a 24 inch by 24 inch 16 gauge plain steel picked up from my local Rural King. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to pick up where we left off on the 92 Jeep YJ, and I'm going to show you the plate that we got laid out for the pieces we're going to cut to patch those holes in the floor. Now we're going to have to get a little creative with a couple of the pieces because we have to make like new floor structure for underneath, so that's going to require like compound bends, but we'll make it work. It'll be good. It'll be good enough. But we got lots of pieces and parts to make. And we'll see what we can get done. I've only got a few hours I can work tonight, and then I'm going to go enjoy time with my family, which is what I hope all of you will be doing. All right. Let me bring you in here and show you exactly what's going on. Once again. Anyway, I showed you a moment ago all the holes that we had cut out. This here, let's see. This is all the pieces that we need to cut. Now this is going to have a couple holes in it. This one here is going to have a few holes in it. This upside down skull, it's going to have about 3 holes in it. These will not. This is going to have a small break. These dotted lines are breaks on this thing. But we're coming along. We got templates made. So we're moving in the right direction. So tomorrow, because I'm done for the night, it's late. Tomorrow, I'm going to get these pieces cut out, prepped, and ready to go. Also, so these things, I only have a few of them that I was able to salvage. Actually, there's 5. What I did is made me a bunch of cardboard templates to take care of the majority of the holes in the spots that I cut out for repair. This is all these little pieces here. This is all going to fill in all those holes I cut in the floor. The support structure, or the channel structure underneath, now that's where this one's going to come in. You can kind of see from the fold lines how this is going to work, where I'm going to make relief cuts, hammer it over, stitch weld the relief cuts back together and call it good. Then I got to come back in and relocate these holes for the bolting. The other thing that I'll have to do is there should be a lip coming off of this, and it's a little bit larger section here, and that's where those other two bolts will go. So that's what we'll do. We'll do that after this piece is made. So as I explain how all these pieces and parts work, you get into it, and if you guys are familiar with this or you've done this before, feel free to just fast forward ahead, and you can pick up on the fabrication side of the Jeep, and you won't get this long, drawn-out 15-minute explanation of how body bushings and body lifts work and the solutions that I'm presenting to fix my problems. So, your call, guys. We got some other pieces we got to make as well. So let me show you. So there's 4 of these. I showed you these once before. I have to recreate some of these. I have these 4, which are slightly different size. These will go in the back. There's 4 locations for these. What this is I'll just show you how this works. What this assembly is, you've got this, which I just showed you, and the ones that go further to the front on the remainder of the body, they're a smaller diameter, and they're longer, probably an inch longer here than what this is that you currently see. So this drops in to the upper part of your bushing like that. And normally this would sit against the body, and you would have 2 metal surfaces riding against each other. This reduced section here will slide down in the hole on the frame, part of your mount, your cab mount, if you will. And then this little donut slides up from the bottom, sandwiching the frame in between the two. And then the other thing that's got to happen is all this has to be held in place with your body mount bolts. And they'll come up through the bottom, into the body, to a weld nut, and you'll cinch it down. Well, there's another piece that's missing. The factory one I'm not going to recreate exactly. I put a body kit like this, or a bushing kit, in another Jeep, my other Jeep, that was similar to this, and it had this metal hardware. The other pieces is going to be this, which will go on bottom, and my other kit had just one thick washer, and that's all we needed. I'm afraid that when I tighten that up, as thin as it is, it's just going to cave in, and when it presses up inside there, I'm going to lose access to part of the head of that bolt, and it's going to make things difficult to remove later if I need to. I've got a larger washer here, a thicker one, which is more accommodating, but unfortunately that center hole is way too big for a regular bolt. I could put it through there, but it could loosen maybe and then walk all over the place, and it won't serve its function. So what I'm thinking I'll do is I'll take these two and I'll stitch weld them together, creating this one bigger, thicker washer. It'll go on bottom. Remember, this is against the body. It'll go on bottom like that, and then your bolt is going to come up through, and you say, wait a minute, that bolt's going to be way too long for that body. Remember this, I'm putting on a 1 1/4 inch body lift, and I do this for the same reason that was given to me, for ease of mechanical maintenance. So if you can create a little bit more space between the body and your drivetrain, getting in there, accessing some of the bolts, some of the sensors, things like that, it just makes things a little bit easier. Now, I'm not a fan of an actual body lift or a tall body lift. lift. It's a good, cheap, easy way to get some lift to clear tires. Personally, I'm not a big fan. This I can live with. So what this does is, remember this mushroom piece that we have to fabricate would normally sit against the body. Well, this is going to go on top. And there's two sizes of these pucks, two different diameters. There's 4 that go in the back, these here, and then all this will bolt in there. Let me give you another example, real quick. So in the very back of this Jeep, I have not recreated these pieces. But this is part of the original frame and the rear body mount, all the way back at the back near the tailgate to the outer edge of it. So, as I said, things sandwich in here. You want to know how this works? I'll show you. Let me disassemble this whole thing. So your upper bushing is going to drop right in that hole, and it centers itself up. You got a little bit of room in there for air. Then, maybe not necessarily in this order, but the idea is this will go in the top, just like that. Your 1 1/4 inch body lift right on top there. Now this is the mating contact between the body and the hardware. Remove that so I don't drop it. On the bottom side is that donut I mentioned a while ago. That clamps over it just like that, creating a sandwich. And those two, when they're bolted down, that creates that rubber isolation that quiets everything up and kind of softens the ride. So there's that, the body lift, my washers. Some kits come with those washers. So if you're not looking at making any of these, you might spend the extra couple dollars and get it with that stuff. If not, you can go to your local hardware store, be a little creative. I'm sure you can make it work. That's all I've done here. The bolts came with it, the washers did not. Anyway, this will slide right back up through there. Whoops. As I said, the bolt slides up through the bottom here, all the way up into the lip, and that should be enough thread engagement, fingers crossed, should be. All it's got to do is catch enough, and then it's going to smash some of this body bushing down, gaining more thread more thread contact. So that's how that works. Toward the front, this bolt is a larger diameter and longer. Same idea, sandwiches all together the same. The difference is it's going to have a larger diameter body mount, or puck, if you will. Same thickness, just different diameters. And this will go in your forward locations, mostly where your seating area is. And then I'll show you the front when we get to it. That one's better explained once it's accessed. But anyway, same idea, larger diameter, and it's going to slide over, and voila, you've got your 1 1/4 inch body lift, new bushings, homemade washers. Everything should work out. Next step we need to form this. We're just going to do it by hand. We're going to hold it. We're going to use this little chunk of 2x4 here because I want a soft edge, not a hard edge. And we're just going to try to work it little by little until we get it. And I eyeball my dotted line to the edge of my block and start working it. Alright, see how that works? Just do the rest of it, little by little. See how that's coming around? Going pretty good. Pretty happy with it. We can finesse it a little bit more once it's mostly in place. Alright. When I hit that the first time, when I'm eyeballing that dotted line to the edge of the block, I hit it that first time where it starts to crease or fold, then I know I'm close to where I need to be. One more side. Yep. Alright, so if I remember right, it should have kind of a natural curve to it this direction, but there that part is. What I'll do is I'll come back in, I'll finesse these edges just a little bit, and I'm going to stitch weld them. Just going to weld them up. Clean up the outside so it looks decent. Once that's done, I'll go to the inside. I'm going to roughly hand sand inside and out. And the inside is the side I'm most concerned with currently because it's going to be the unaccessible side. So this side I need to get paint on. This side I can apply paint after. I can do some prep work with some sanding. But I'm not going to put any paint on just yet. So that's how I do it. It's just another way to do it. Like I said, this part is not super critical. Most people's not going to see this. They're not going to look for this underneath. The key thing is, excuse me. The key thing is that I have new, properly thick. I have new material that is the proper thickness. And it's going to be stronger than it was. Now, I told you I still have to make flanges here because that's where some bolts are going to go, and then there's going to get a couple of holes here, and I'll have to figure all that out. First, I'm going to go back. I won't show you this. I won't show you guys this part, but I'm going to go back and make sure this fits where I need it to fit. I have a feeling I didn't need to do this brake right here, and if that is the case, I'll just cut it out. No harm, no foul, no big deal. I got one more piece I got to put a 90 on. It's a little piece. You guys have seen me do that before in my other videos, so there's no reason for me to show you that. Got all the other pieces prepped for welding. I'll get things set up and start getting that stuff welded up so it has time. I'll start getting that stuff set up to do some welding on because it needs time to cool. And then I got to paint all those pieces before they go in, just to make life a little easier, because there won't be any more welding required on those. So that'll give the paint some time to set up, and I can touch it up after it's all bolted in. So, and I got those pieces I gotta, well, you'll see. Have it. The pieces are cleaned up. The side that I think needs painted gets painted. There's that tombstone looking piece. It's part of that channel underneath. It's not perfect, but it'll work. There we go. There's this one, all made up. Kind of replicates this. This one's all made up. Had to reinforce the top. Here's the weld nuts that are going to go inside. At least one of them, maybe two. And that one ended up kind of crooked looking. Got the holes drilled in them for the plug welds. All the washers are made up. So I'm going to sling some paint on these so they can start curing. That is currently where we are at. Progress. Put some paint on these. Fuel tank, the pan / skid plate. We're going to go ahead and finish welding that up, clean it up with a grinder. And, see what we're going to do there. Probably just going to spray paint it as well, although I'm not going to have enough paint and most of the stores are probably closed. I'll see what I have. I'd like to get this finished up today. Alright, we're back. We're working on the fuel tank pan here. Well, got the tank pan / skid plate. It's all welded up. I've already put my first coat of paint on it. It's not the color that you thought it was going to be, mostly because I'm out of black. I'm out of ultra matte black. I'm out of flat black. I've got very little of gloss black, not even enough to start it. Most of the stores are closed. This is just going to be its color for now. The point is, I'm getting paint on it. I can pull it off later and redo it. But this is what we've got. Alright, that's what we've got. A gloss orange. That's the first color on it. Or I'm sorry, the first coat. We'll try to get some more on it as this sets up. See, there's the other pieces. They're drying. Those pieces are drying. And the pieces of sheet metal for the floor, they're also drying. My next step, because I'm running out of time this evening, is I'm going to get that other patch cut out. I need to get it laid out so I can get it cut out so I can start to clean up on it. It's right up there where the floor starts to curve up. So I need to make that piece since that was a last minute cut out. But we're making progress. We're moving along. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to get right back at it. I would like to say Happy New Year to all my subscribers, family, friends, and those of you that I don't know. I really appreciate you watching the channel, as his friends as well. On behalf of my family, once again, Happy New Year, and looking forward to this new year and what it has to bring. I really appreciate all you guys. I really appreciate you following along.